I entered the gun industry, or what we call the gun community, in 2015 when we started TA Targets. And I remember the first time that I saw the statement, faith, family, freedom, and frankly, I couldn't believe it. I had wandered into an industry that apparently was focused on three pillars that build a healthy culture: faith in God and a fear of His sovereignty, a desire to build families of legacy, and this expansion of freedom that exists for everybody in this country. Yes, that includes even the ones that I disagree with. Three honorable words that in practice I soon found didn't exist, or they rarely existed. God was propped up as a box that we checked to make sure that others knew that we were Christian enough. Family was just a byproduct, but intentionality was nearly non-existent. Ample evidence of broken homes, vacant fathers, divorce, and immorality were prevalent. Freedom, too, was simply a buzzword that we used to make it seem like we understood what liberty actually meant. Instead, I found that our community only wanted to extend these rights to folks who believed and thought exactly like we did. We intentionally created a bubble that not only couldn't expand, it was bound to burst, and often it did. In the remains of these fractures, I'd find people pitting against each other, building tribes, planting flags, and generally holding back momentum of expansion. Rather than focusing outward and reaching others, we collapsed within. It only took a few years, but I quickly began to despise the so-called community that I found myself within. And I think many of you, especially our longtime followers of our channel, may find yourselves feeling the same things. I mean, look around us. We just did a video on the whole T-Rex arms situation and how toxic our community is responding, and we saw that same kind of reaction towards our company last week. If you so much as take a step, 1 foot out of this fictional line that this community has painted for us or you, large masses will immediately turn against you. Where is the grace? Where is the understanding? I appreciate what my friends over at Dirty Civilian often say. They have this statement where they say, build over break. I also aspire to see this collective of people focusing on building instead of breaking, but instead, many people simply crave the next controversy or the next opportunity to put their own biased spin on something that frankly doesn't even affect them. The Christian values that we were told that we believed in this community go away the moment there is an opportunity to lash out online. How is this any different than the woke mob of the left? The answer is, it isn't. But it's actually far worse, because at least the left is consistent in their attacks against our culture. I'd go as far as to say that we are actually a bigger threat to ourselves than any outside force. Why would they need to exert force against us when we are so willing to destroy ourselves from within? And don't get it twisted, this is not a left versus right video. I'm using an example you hear about so much in our industry just to make this broader, very important point. Let me lay out the evidence that I see that proves that this is not a community currently, and that shows us how broken we truly are. But before I do that, let's define the word community. The definition of community is a group of people living in the same place or having a particular characteristic in common. There's another definition that says a feeling of fellowship with others as a result of sharing common attitudes, interests, and goals. And yet another definition says a group of interdependent organisms or different species growing together or living together in a specified habitat. While we know that we don't all live in the same vicinity, this is a digital world, it would be safe to say that the second and third definition are very applicable and should be very applicable to our community, and it's something we should be aspiring to. And if we adhered to a common set of attitudes, interests, goals, and we focused on the fact that we are interdependent on each other, we likely could see a legitimate community forming. And I'll get to our attitudes in a bit, but I've seen the following traits that rampantly consume our community. The first thing I see all the time is we don't look out for the interests of others. We are selfish and we pursue only what makes us feel good in the moment. We do not intentionally build up other people. Instead, we linger in wait for the next controversy, whether that's the next SIG drama, a YouTube personality creating the next controversy, or a business separation that has nothing to do with us. There are figureheads that are masters of division among our community. Take our video with Jake Paul. Rather than understanding the strategy and seeing what we did for what it was, simply making a video showcasing a range, there are now hundreds of comments from people that are so fast to spew negative garbage. Few came to us and said, hey, I'm genuinely curious. Why did you do that? I've followed you for a long time, for a decade. I know who you guys are, who you say you are, and what you're about. So there's likely a reason. What is it? No, instead, some of you acted like this was an airline and you happily announced your departure. So be it. We are so short-sighted I shouldn't have to explain the strategy of expansion. We claim that we want to reach and bring new people into the fold, but the moment that a good company does that and pours back into the culture, many of you pose and prep for attack. These people intentionally stroke flames of division rather than unity because it financially benefits themselves, it strokes their ego, and it brings attention to what they're doing. The fifth thing I see all the time is we feel our opinions are more important than they actually are. This confirmation bias leads us to believe that we're in the right, when in fact we're often completely missing the mark. The sixth thing I see all the time is we're hypocrites. We forget that all of us have fallen short. We've all made mistakes. All of us have dirty laundry and marks in our past that we wish nobody knew about, yet so many of you are ready to expose them on others. We're happy to hang the dirty laundry of others out for display, to engage in public ridiculing, but we're unwilling to deal with our own shortcomings, flaws, and mistakes first. Calling out actions that go directly against the standards of the community isn't the problem. The problem is engaging in destructive gossip with the intent of harming others and spreading rumors. That's the problem. Our community claims that we want to prepare to resist tyranny, but a large portion of us can't even resist the urge to make stupid comments on the internet. Tell me how your resistance to tyranny is going to go when you can't even be cohesive in a peaceful time. On one hand, we call anyone who reviews products that we love to learn about a shill, and we claim that they're worthless. But then the moment that they do something that we don't like, we create this massive stampede of just tribal anger to their comment section to join in this meltdown that is sure to come. Wait, I thought that all of you said that they were shills and that we shouldn't pay attention to them. Do they have influence or not? You don't even know what you stand for, flip-flopping between those two stances. And God is not honored as we simply amass gear for selfish reasons rather than selfless causes. We replace the reliance on our Creator with defensive tools we feel will protect us. We create idols of metal and plastic rather than using the tools to train for a higher purpose. We're entitled because most of us haven't had to fight for anything. We are comfortable, and we forget that ownership of God-given rights always comes at a cost. We're not often welcoming, and in fact, this community can be extremely abrasive to people that are just beginning their journey into firearms. And I could go on and on with this list. It's nearly endless. I'm not saying that there isn't good happening. I am saying that the negative almost always hides it. It buries it. It makes it impossible to see. The good content that builds us up gives almost no engagement to the creators, and the content where grown men act like toddlers explodes. The wrong people get the attention, and then we feed it. I guess the bigger question is, what does this tell us? Well, for me, it points to the fact that we are not, in fact, a community. We are more fragmented than ever and more focused on our own desires than pouring into and building up a community of providers and protectors. That's part of the reason why our impact is often so limited when we are pouring positively into the culture. So what should we be aspiring to, and what should this community become? I think that's an important question, and we should ask ourselves that daily. I reject the notion that this community should just exist as a gossip-happy, slandering, self-focused group of half-boy men who drool at the opportunity to put down another person. If faith, family, and freedom are truly core tenets of why we exist, then our actions should embody those statements daily. And look, guys, I've screwed this up as many times as the next guy. I haven't been perfect, far from it, but I know that to create a culture, we need consistent, communicated, and clear values that we all adhere to. I recognize that we all come from different walks, different stories, but the truth remains. The right to own firearms is a right that all humans possess because the right to defend our lives from threat of violence or death is inherent. It's that simple. So the actions that we take must further this message of liberty. They must showcase an example worthy of following, not just for our fellow community members, but for the younger men and women that look to us as an example. We need to live a life that is an example that is worthy of following. And I would suggest the following core values for our community. And core values are beliefs that drive our actions. Number one, freedom. We possess the inherent right to arms, the foundation of liberty that defends all other human rights. Number two is responsibility. As members of this community and holders of the knowledge of liberty, we all have a responsibility of stewardship, education, and accountability among our community. Number three would be faith, believing in something higher than ourselves. Our actions are driven by a vision that is larger than just our wants, needs, and desires. Number four would be love. We prepare to protect because of a sacrificial love of others. We measure our words and actions by this value. And because we love others, we extend grace, forgiveness, and we become mentors of those who are new on their firearm journey. Number 5 would be family. Blood and chosen families are the bedrock of any community, and we will lead ours with honor, principle, and set an example through our families so that other people can follow that example. Because communities consist of groups of families, we are going to build ours intentionally, setting an example for others to follow. The 6th value would be courage. We're willing to do hard things that may cost us something in order to protect others. Number 7 would be unity. We set aside our selfish desires, the egos, and our pride in order to create a cohesive community of people that are focused on these values. And if you fight me on these values, then I truly do not think that you are part of this community. I know for many, guns are just a cool toy to play with. For others, they're a tool for selfish gain. Some folks just like the history, and there's a lot of other reasons people own guns. But if this group of unorganized people has any desire to further the cause of liberty and to expand our rights and to build an actual community, then we need a lighthouse, a pillar, an agreed upon standard to operate under. Otherwise, we descend into what we see today: selfish, greedy, arrogant, angry people who would rather engage in action that is detrimental to our community than doing the hard work and the hard thing to build something worthy of expanding. So how are we going to make the changes? Okay, so this is where it gets fun. This is where the true work begins, and trust me, this is gonna take work. I'm gonna list out the things that I think that we need to do first. And the first is responsibility. If you own guns, get trained. Stop making excuses, stop waiting, get after it. To be a teacher of these things, you first must be able to showcase these things to others. You will only really teach someone to slightly below the skill set that you possess. So make sure that your skill set is ample to empower another person. Number 2 is accountability. We need accountability. The next time you see an influencer running their mouth, spreading gossip, hearsay, half-truths, or genuinely posting content that goes against these values, speak up. Make a stand. Call out those who are acting like toddlers engaging in this nonsense. Make it known as a community that we no longer will engage or tolerate behavior from men who act like they're freaking 5. When you feel yourself getting fired up about something that happened to some company or someone in the industry, or some influencer starts pointing fingers, remind yourself that they are there for division. You are here for unity. You are here for furthering our rights. They are here to stroke their weak, fragile ego. Do not give them the attention that they are craving. Number 3 would be courageous. Speak boldly about our rights and bring others into the fold. Speak truth and be willing to come beside others in their journey. Teach others that guns are not scary. Be the advocate for the cause and the reason that our community can expand. Number 4 would be love others. Remember that we all have our own dirty laundry. Give grace. When you see gossip monkeys yelling about the next drama, extend grace, forgiveness, and then give peace. We have all made major mistakes in our lives, and we've all done wrong. We've also all been wronged. We are not perfect, and people are not perfect. Instead of casting judgment, let's first extend grace and understand that we might not have all the information needed to judge, and frankly, it's not even our place to judge. Focus on loving others instead of tearing others down. Number 5 would be unity. Remembering that unity doesn't mean that we agree on everything, but it does mean that we operate with a certain standard. We weigh our words and our actions and make sure that they're building instead of breaking. That we are intentionally operating at a higher standard and that we hold each other to a higher standard for the sake of that unity. So what is more productive? Being an encourager who invests time, energy, and resources into expanding our rights and community, or being another talking head sitting in front of a webcam, sharing the next bits of gossip and slander in our community? What engages and encourages those just stepping into the community to grow and invest in it? What is more mature and more calculated and more effective? As much as I'd love to say that we all want the same things, the reality is there are people among us that are wolves. They are destroyers of our cause. They're in this for selfish gain, and they thrive on the negativity, the clickbait, and the destruction of the values that I just listed off. They're not good humans. They're not honorable, trustworthy, and they are not setting an example in their families. And frankly, they do not care about the harm that they do to our community. And if you're curious about who I am referring to, simply take the list of values that I said we should adhere to, measure them against the channels that you're watching weekly, and you will put together the dots and figure out who I'm talking about. I feel a personal responsibility from my position to be an encourager, to be somebody that can speak to these topics, encourage you guys to operate at a higher standard, because as I've said, I've failed in this in so many ways over the years. I've engaged in the same things that I just laid out in this community. I've not been perfect. I've sought forgiveness on many of those occasions. I've tried to correct my path, and I try to hold myself to a higher standard as well. I understand that we're not perfect. I understand how easy it is to get triggered in these different discussions when we see these topics flying around. But if we do not take the time to invest in these values and adhere to them, then this community is a con. That's why I named this video the Gun Community, because we as a community need to decide who we are and what we're doing and what we are willing to stand on and stand for. And I wanted to just pull out my phone real quick because we found a verse today that I think applies very much to the mindset of people that are destroyers of a community, that are in this for selfish gain, like I described a couple minutes ago. So this is Isaiah 59:7-8. Their feet run to evil, and they make haste to shed innocent blood. Their thoughts are thoughts of iniquity, wasting and destruction are in their paths. The way of peace they have not known, and there's no justice in their ways. They have made themselves crooked paths. Whoever takes that way shall not know peace. That's a pretty powerful statement when we think about that. If we are engaging in negativity in the community and what we are propping up is the destruction of others, then we should expect destruction of our community, but also destruction in our own lives. And I don't care if you're not a believer. Maybe you believe in karma, the universe settling the score, or God coming in and saying we all will be judged. I don't care what you believe, but if what we're putting into this thing is negative and our intention is breaking people down for our personal gain, in your life, likely what you will experience is the same thing. At some point, somebody will do the exact same thing to you, and they will not extend you grace. They will hold your feet to the fire, and you will see judgment the way that you have judged. And I think that that is so important for us as a community to remember. We are not just a normal industry. We are an industry and a community built around God-given rights that can then protect the other freedoms that we hold. We are in a unique space, and the standard has to be set so high that when other industries and other people see how we operate, they look at us and say, those dudes are a lighthouse. Those guys and gals that are out there preaching the rights and expanding this community are doing the hard work for the sake of the rest of the country, even when the rest of the country doesn't understand it or doesn't necessarily align with the right to own firearms. We need to operate in a blameless way so that when they're trying to cast stones, all doubts are removed. That's why this position matters. But I'm curious what you all think. How as a community can we move forward? What can we do to become that cohesive community that people look at and say, I want to be a part of that. I desire to fall into that fold and to become one with the people that I see. And let me know about the values as well. If you disagree with any of them, if you would change them or tweak them, I'm curious. As I've said in all these last videos, I know a lot of you aren't believers. You may not have the same belief system that I have, and that's fine. These videos are for everybody, whether you believe in God or you just believe in a basic set of morality and principles. I'm trying to speak to everybody, but I am also more and more sharing my story and how I come up with these foundational arguments against the negative things that I'm seeing. But I want to know what you guys think, so please get down in the comment section, engage in a conversation with each other. Remember that in that comment section, we have a duty to uphold these values that I just laid out. So if we are going against them, we need to call each other out in a loving, full of grace way so that we can correct and prod each other toward excellence. Obviously, the main way that we fund this company is through the products that we sell. We have historically not done really any sponsored slots or had companies come beside us and support us financially. But if you are a company and you believe in what we're doing and you like what you see, you feel like you can align with our values, I want you to email us at info@tatargets.com. We're gonna get you connected to our marketing team, and we can show you ways that you can financially support us so that we can continue to spread the message of grace, love, humility, and building a cohesive community going forward. So if that interests you, we will put that email down in the description. Send us an email and let us know that you want to work with us and that you align with our values. We'll obviously audit any company that reaches out to make sure that you guys are a good fit for us. But if that's something you're interested in, I want to talk to you one-on-one and figure out how we could work together. And if you feel so called, our team would just ask you to consider supporting us. This year has been extremely difficult for every business in this industry. Just like everybody said last time Trump got elected, they called it the Trump slump. When we get into these new eras of crazy economy, inflation, and all of the pressures that you all are feeling, we feel it as well as a business, but we also feel that on a personal level. So to continue doing these videos, if you find value and you feel called to do it, please check out our website. We're gonna, in the description, put some very inexpensive products that will help you. They will help you to become a capable provider and protector. Again, the vision of this company. And if you invest in them and you use them wisely, instead of just amassing gear, amassing guns, you put them to work and you get some training, you will be able to be that community member that then can gather other people and pull them in so that we can affect millions of lives in this country, build a better, more cohesive culture, and ultimately leave this community better than when we entered into it. Appreciate you all. See you in the next one.